It's Wednesday, my crew. Hello, hello. How's it going? Watching that music swell. Queuing up the next track here. How's everyone doing? Sorry I missed streaming yesterday. Would you know, I had a work meeting scheduled right in the middle of it. Hey, Rhiannon Journey. How's it going? I'm only going to have a couple of work streams this week, today and tomorrow. Oh, a few. Today, tomorrow, and Friday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we'll be working. And then I think Saturday we'll have episode 2 of our Void War Let's Play. I think we'll dip back into the Void War on Saturday. It's been a busy week. You've been doing okay? That's good to hear. Yeah, it has been a busy week. I definitely feel that. We're actually probably not going to work on the game a ton today. Kind of what I want to work on today. Well, there's a few minor things. I made some changes to the cutaway system. So now the cutaway system is working based on axis-aligned bounding boxes of each room or compartment. That's been really nice. That's a lot easier to deal with. There's edge cases that I need to sort out, so if we have a little time, we'll fiddle with those, but I really don't want to work on that system much. One thing I did, which was kind of fun, is I did make a bit field struct. So I made my own little bit field struct. Kind of cool. It's pretty simple. It's not terribly smart, but it's good enough. And I made it for a 64. We can make, I'll copy smaller ones when we need them, like bitfield 32 or bitfield 16 or whatever. But it's nice because it means we're not just storing U-longs directly. We have like we have some structure around it. And so I was able to migrate all the utility stuff. Can we see a demo of the updates to the cutaway? You're not sure where it was last time? Yeah, sure. The thing that I did that was interesting with the bitfield one is I have started working on a bitfield 128, which needs multiple backing fields. It needs 2 backing U-longs, and it's somewhat limited in terms of what it can do, but I think I'll be able to extend it in case we need it. I don't want to use it, but in case we need it, I would like to have it. So the current state of the, I was thinking about it, I'm like, what is the current state? I'm pretty sure I fixed the last big crashing bug last night. So I think we're in decent shape. So we can set up our usual weird little testing cinder block here. One thing I still need to change is I swapped the exterior cutaway to use half walls, and I don't like it, so I'm going to swap it back. So if we start making these things, we just start subdividing these spaces here. So we still get this terrace effect. Is bit field so that you can handle larger numbers of compartments? Yeah. So each compartment will get assigned a bit in the field. And so at the moment, we can support up to 64 compartments in a ship. And then if necessary, we can do the 128. So you can kind of see where the edge cases are. There's some little tips at the edge. You see where it carves out this extra little bit. I need to fix that. Those true corner cases, but this is pretty much where we're at. We do the half wall stuff for everything in front of the room you're in. And then we do this nice terracing away for the stuff above. So I think it's reasonable. Is it perfect? No. Does it need some additional work? Probably, especially for weird, unusual compartment shapes. I haven't tested it for weird shapes like horseshoe shapes or anything strange, but for what we're currently dealing with, I think it's fine. I think it's okay. It's looking good. Will there still be the mouse-based cutaway? Yeah, so the mouse-based cutaway right now, you'll only really notice it if you are on the outside of the ship. It's not even really... Huh. Oh yeah, so if I do this, so if I like go behind it, you'll see we're still just doing straight cutaway stuff. We are using half walls, which I don't want to do. I want to just do a full cutaway maybe. I don't know. There's cases where I don't like that. But yeah, it's going to be more of a construction time cutaway, this kind of full cutaway thing. And it's just for building purposes mostly. And then when you're playing, it's more going to be about the interior cutaway stuff. But yeah, I think it's reasonable. Gives you a pretty good peer look into both the area you're on as well as a little bit of the area above. Ship it? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's all right. So with that in a mostly decent state, the thing I kind of want to work on today is planning out the remainder of our work on the tile block editor. So I want to do something like, I want to make a new folder. I want to say something like task. I had a word for this. It's going to say like task cards. So we can put our cards in a folder. Then we're going to make a new canvas, which I definitely know how to do. New note. No, I don't want to make a note. I want to make a canvas. I definitely use obsidian. Know how to use it. How the hell do I make a new canvas? I made plenty of canvases here. Oh well, I want to make a Kanban board of the remaining tasks to complete the tile block editor. So we'll make a folder, we'll call it task boards. So we'll have task cards and task boards. We might even have a task cards folder within each board. That's probably what we should do. So we can make a new, here we go, new canvas. Weird that I can only do that in a folder and I can't just do it out here. So we're going to call this tile block editor. And we'll put a task cards folder in here. Oh, I guess this needs to be a folder. Yeah, whatever. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not it. New folder. Tile block editor. There we go. So now we have this canvas, so we can set up... Oh my glob. We're getting raided. Red alert. Battle stations, y'all. Raise the shields. I don't know, do other things. How's it going, Black Void Titan? Welcome in, Raiders. How was the stream? Happy Wednesday. I'm Digital Iliad, or Dave, and we're working on a game that's like an isometric 3D version of FTL faster than light. We've been working on a lot of 3D tools to make this doable. Recently, we pretty much wrapped up work on a cutaway system. We're doing all this in Godot. Stream was good. You're working on a kind of boss battle at the moment. Ooh, that's exciting. You're opening doors, not helping much. Thanks, Rhiannon Journey. Thank you for the follow, Titan. Yeah, so we've been working on this tool so we can make these 3D shapes. It involves like an auto tiler. It involves like room detection using like a flood fill algorithm. So if I make this like, it's gonna look like a cinder block, but we're gonna start hollowing it out, making rooms. So we have a big auto tiler. We just finished working on the cutaway system. There's a few more little tiny modifications we need, but it's just a system so that you can peer into this 3D ship. Right now it's just a cube, but I'm literally gray boxing it out here. So we've been working on our visibility cutaway stuff so that you can go and look into the ship. That's kind of what we're wrapping up. So at the moment we're gonna build a Kanban board of the rest of the stuff that we need to finish this feature, because this is just one feature amongst many. Yeah, it's kind of a way to be able to peer into this 3D space, which is kind of not an easy problem to fix. Damn, that looks cool. Thank you. Thank you, Titan. Yeah. So a lot of stuff went into this. And it's okay for now. There's some corner cases we don't like. Like, we don't like some of the stuff happening right at the edges. But we can fix that. And at the moment, what we want to do, because we're on kind of this roadmap to an MVP. We're on this roadmap towards an MVP, an alpha MVP kind of deal. And there's 4 main elements that we need to get to this point. We need what you were just looking at, which was the tile block editor. This is the tool that we're going to use to build these ships. Excuse me. This is like maybe a view of like a finished bridge or something like that. Kind of the vibe we're going for, this isometric 3D look. So step 1, obviously, finish the editor that we're going to use to build this stuff. Step 2, get the actual shipboard simulation ship. How does oxygen flow from one room to another? How do crew members get from one station to another? How does power move throughout the ship? You know, all the simulation elements of it. So once we built the ships, we need to bring them to life. And then we need to be able to lay out some scenarios, like basic scenarios, which is like you warp in, you know, FTL style, you warp in, there's a ship waiting for you. You know, how do we build out those little encounters? Or you warp in and there's like a derelict space station or something and you loot some scrap, whatever. So we need an editor for that. And then similarly, we need like a little battlefield where these encounters can occur. I'm calling it a 9-box battlefield because it's going to involve a central position for your ship and then 8 positions around the periphery, like the adjacent and the diagonal positions. And that will be where ship-to-ship battles occur. So we have an interior simulation and an exterior simulation and 2 editor tools. And we're working through the tile block editor, but we have a bunch more to do. So we were right now, sorry you hopped in during planning phase. We're going to write out a little Kanban board of what do we need to do to finish this tile block editor. Because I want to move out of like pre-production and I want to move into let's get this piece done. But I'm sure you, Titan, have lots of stuff to do. I hope you enjoy your post-stream, whatever you got to do. Thank you for the raid. For any raiders that are hanging out with us, appreciate that. We'll be doing this for the next couple hours here. You're also working on a space game. It's interesting to see. Yeah. I've seen a number of your projects, some jam stuff. I don't know if I've seen your most recent projects, so I feel like I gotta try to check it out. All right, so what we want to do, I don't have a template, so I'm gonna just start making groups, I guess. Can I just create a group? Yeah, so we're not gonna make cards, we're gonna make groups. So we can call this like planning, planned. We're not gonna download a fancy Kanban board or do anything crazy. Maybe we'll have a header. I'll leave some room for a header. But we're just gonna make a few groups. Planned. Maybe planned / on hold, maybe. Make another group. In progress. But I don't like to use these sorts of things until I have a pretty good idea of like what needs to be done to finish everything. So to me, this is kind of a, when you start to look at everything that's left and you start to try to make deadlines. I think we're pretty much done with the exploratory phase of this part of the project, at least. So in progress. I don't know. Do we want like an in review? Catch up with you next time? Yeah, no worries. You'll have to raid and run quite a bit later. Yeah, no worries. If you like some FTL, go check out that Void War. I've been playing that on Saturdays. It's quite good. Quite a good follow-up to FTL, especially if you like the grim dark. But yeah, catch you next time. Thank you, Titan. Thank you, Raiders. Rhiannon Journey, unlike you, who is like, you'll build your own Kanban board web app to track everything instead of working on the game. That is the danger. That is truly the danger when you're doing this sort of thing. And then what? We maybe have one last group of like completed. You say in review / testing. This is good, right? You're a Kanban export, Rhiannon Journey. What are the categories you like to put? I think this is pretty sufficient for me, but interested to see what other people are doing. Also, how long are these? How many spaces does this have? That's 16. That seems like a good length. Are these all the same size? Nope, this one's too long. This one's also too long. Seems reasonable. Does this seem reasonable? Seems reasonable. Make it a little longer, maybe. Oops. You do backlog, in progress, review, and completed. So pretty much the same. Just some different terminology. Yeah, that's fine. Planned or on hold. Backlog is nice. If I could make this bigger, like if I could make the task, I could say backlog. Underway. Yeah, whatever. I think this is okay. I know some people will go way crazier with this, where they have like stuff can go into like on hold might be after in progress or between planned and in progress, and then in review can send something back to, yeah. I know there's a lot of crazy stuff people do with this. I'm trying to avoid a lot of that. Let's add a card though. Let's call this File Block Editor. That way we can reference a note. We can link this, we can link any card to a note if we need to. So if we want to have task details, we can just put it there. As long as the cards kind of fit in here, I'm pretty happy. That seems reasonable. So in progress, we can put the cutaway system. You can call it a visibility. I'm not going to have a lot of room for description with these big... Can I change the font size? Probably. Actually, no, I like it like this. I like it like this. Starting simple is the best way and then grow it if needed. I couldn't agree with you more. So we've got the cutaway system right now. We're going through. Do like that. Call it maybe the block cutaway. Tile cutaway. So that's in progress. That's maybe more in review and testing. I think I'm gonna say. My problem is I don't really consider stuff to be ever finished much, so I'm gonna have a hard time putting stuff in the completed category. The progress list is gonna be so long. That's why I think if I'm not actually making progress on something, I should just pop it back to the on hold or the backlog. I think backlog is good. Is a good way to put that. So let's fill up the planned section first, because that seems like a good way to start. We do it like this. Because I want to call this the block cutaway. All right, so what we need to do is we need to handle serialization. Maybe we call it save, load, ships. We want to be able to save and load ships. We also need undo, redo actions. Undo, redo tool. I think these are the priorities of what I want next. We need to be able to save and load stuff. We need undo, redo. We probably need undo, redo before save and load, honestly. But that's fine. This isn't like a priority thing. So, let's see. We're only thinking about what we need for the tile block editor. Just the tile block editor. I would like to finish this. Because I know we said we wanted to hit like an alpha MVP launch in like a year. And that was kind of like a year from GDC, which means like March. It's June. So if we had 4 things to work on in the span of a year, is copy and paste, cut and paste completed? It is functional. I don't know if I love it, if I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I love the copy paste functionality. I kind of want to move to like a click drag for like cut and paste. I kind of, but it's fine. We already have copy paste and cut and paste. They might not be. Let's put that in testing because it works, but I'm not sure if it works. I'm not sure if it totally works right now. So we'll say copy, paste. We'll say copy, cut, paste. Put that in review. That's a good thought. Do you have any plans for changing how the block selectors are displayed? Oh yeah, there's a block palette. So that's something that's in progress, I think. That's like this section, like when we run, yeah, like the palette. Yeah, we're thinking the same. So we've got a basic palette where we can select floor, wall, floor and wall, door, which isn't going to display. And then there's the clipboard. So like if I did this and then made some little thing here, doesn't matter what, but we could just take it, select it. Ooh, the selection does not work with the cutaway. The half block cutaway. That's something we need to work on. That is good to remember. So we can do this and we can copy it. Move it around. We can paste it once and then we still have it. We can even swap to like the wall thing. And then now you can see the clipboard down here so you can swap back. So that part works. It does some weird stuff with overwriting. So if we go down a level, it just slides in here, which is good. But you have to be careful because if we had this with like a wall piece above it and we tried to slot it in, it would do some crazy shit. So paste that. We can also do like... Can I select this? Oh, that's strange. I cannot select this. Why can't I select this? Huh. All right, well, there's an issue there. I can select this, but I can't select this thing. Very strange. All right, well, that's concerning. Let's put that in here. Select overlay. Be selected. Is it only the pasted ones you can't select? That is my theory, yeah. So a select overlay. We're working on that. Copy, cut, paste clearly has some problems. Undo redo tool, save load ships, select overlay, block cutaway, copy, cut, paste. So I think what else we need... can I say blocks? No. I kind of want to be able to save and load pieces of a ship as like prefabs or something, but maybe we'll think about that later. So we got an undo redo tool, we got save load. What else do we need to consider that tool finished? Oh, camera turning is an issue. I'm putting that on hold right now. There are some aspects of camera rotation that don't work. So we need camera rotation. You need to be able to rotate the camera. We can kind of rotate the camera, but yeah, some stuff is not working with it. Like block placement and everything is working, but things like the cutaway system I don't think work right now. So we're thinking about that. The other thing I want to do, I think I want to have, oh, what was it? It was just in my brain. I need to have a system for, you forgot about the button that says AI generate my ship? Yeah, seriously. We actually do need a process to have, we need like a tile set builder. Like we need to be able to build tile sets out of art. Like right now we've just got one hand-packed tile set and it does not include things like does not include like these. So we need a process to be able to include more more shapes, more block shapes. But I want to be able to create the block shapes semi-procedurally. So like to build this block shape here, to like build these in the tile editor, like to build out the tile atlas for like this block, this like triangular cut block, I would like to be able to just maybe submit these 4 drawings, and then along with maybe something like this, like it's almost like a normal map, but for sides, and then have a system. So I submit like these 4 shapes drawn like this and like a normal map version or something. And then I want to be able to generate like, okay, here are the pieces of each side that make up that shape. And then pack a tile atlas. So I want to call this maybe either tileset builder / tile atlas packer. I want that. I don't want to have to do that manually every time I want to make new art. I want a system. I want a procedural system that can basically go from the like 4. It's not like I've seen some tools. Someone showed me some cool tools. Let me see if I can load the tool. Modders will thank you. Yeah. That's very much at the forefront of our thought process. It's like very dog food oriented. It's like we want all of our editor tools to be very accessible. We want to be very lazy about everything. So here's a tool that a friend showed me about. Super cool. It seems like the opposite of what I want to do. So like, it's this cool thing. So it's like you get a 3D. I think it's a Minecraft mod, but it's like this cool way. I think what they're doing is they're drawing the tile atlas, and then it's generating the isometric model or an isometric sprite. It's not generating a model, but it's generating like an isometric sprite from this tile atlas. Super snazzy. I think it's called Easy Metric. This is like just from like 3 weeks ago. This is like a new tool someone's making. The thing is, I want to do the opposite of this, right? I want to go from this isometric drawing to generating the atlas. I want to go in the opposite direction. But this is really slick how this works. So yeah, they're drawing the flat pack and then they're generating a 3D isometric model at a certain angle. Super cool. Super cool tech. I just want to do the opposite. And I don't need to do this projection stuff because they're like projecting a flat thing into an isometric perspective. What I want to do is much simpler than this, but I just thought this was really cool. Super, super cool. Hey, Fusionist. How's it going? All I need to do is go from this view, the isometric view, to like figure out all the cutout pieces involved in those shapes and then be able to pack them into a tile atlas like, I don't know. I don't actually think I have a good example of one. Do I have the whole default combo? Yeah, like hand pack it into something like this, right? Or not hand pack it, automatically pack it into something like this that I can use. Are we done with the editor? We are working on it, Fusionist. We're actually at a very exciting point. We're making a Kanban board. We're trying to write out all of the tasks that we want to finish, that we want to do to consider the tile block editor done. So we're pushing to finish it. We were just talking about a tile set builder, tile atlas packer tool, which again, I don't think we need to finish everything on this list necessarily, to move on to the next step of the roadmap, which is the shipboard simulation. There will probably be some back and forth between these two, where like we come up with something in the shipboard simulation and we're going to be like, well, you're going to need to be able to describe this when you build the ship. So we'll probably bounce back to the tile block editor and have to incorporate some of that. But I want to largely move on from this. Hey, still needs work. How's it going? How's life? Happy start to summer. I bet summer is a pretty stark difference for you way up north. In San Francisco, it's still pretty much cold and foggy. Pretty much foggy and cold every day. How am I doing? You're, oh, it's really nice out right now for you? That's great. Yeah, our summer doesn't really start until August. Here. On the coast. Yeah. But we're just talking about what we need to finish to be done with the tile block editor. We're making Kanban boards. I wonder if I want a task cards folder for every board. I don't think I do. Maybe I do. We'll do that for now. Your winter sometimes begins to start in August. Oh my gosh. In September, you have snow. Wow. That's like our nicest month. Our peak summer in San Francisco is like August till like it's like mid-August to like mid-October is like, That's the only time it actually gets like hot in San Francisco. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just patiently waiting because I know it's technically summer. We were talking about the block palette, right? That's something we're working on actively. Block palette. So we need to expand the block palette. The block palette is our little tool. Right now, it's pretty simple. It's got a clipboard, and it's got a few pieces. Right now, it's just got a floor, a wall and a floor, a door, and the clipboard tool, which we noticed a bug with the selection overlay while we were playing around with this. Just annoying. There's also another bug with the copy and paste that I want to work on. So, like, if we do this, so if you make a mistake here, you're debating on getting studs on the tires, prepping for the ice. Oh, yeah, you're prepped. You're early. You're very prepared. Very well prepared here. Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like the half wall cutaway when we're in build mode. But yeah, there's something can happen accidentally, which is not great. Which is like, let's say you select all of this. So let's say you select this whole thing, which the selection overlay doesn't work with the half block tiles either. So we got to work on that. But if I do this and I copy this, all right, and I go down here and I try to paste it one level down, watch. See, the fact that there's a floor or a ceiling, the ceiling of this object is the floor of the other object, and it like wipes out the doors. So I need to change the block merge rules for this so that this is handled correctly. And then what's concerning that we noticed is if I paste this, and then I don't know, let's select something else. I can't select this anymore. It's not in the selectable area, which is concerning. I bet this is, it's also, if you'll notice, it's not turning light gray like this interior. So I definitely know what's wrong here, which is this is not being considered part of a settled block. Like this isn't being settled, like I pasted it, but it's still being considered in preview. So that's something we can fix. That should be relatively easy. Looks really good, even though there's still a lot of things. Hey, Skywalk, what's up? Oh, still needs work with the on-screen celebration. Thank you for the ship it. Yeah, we actually are almost done with the cutaway. I finished up a lot of work on it last night. I ran down some brutal bugs that we had, but now we can make these 3D spaces so we can make our big housing project, our big flying housing project here. It's this cement building. We can hollow it out. So we can make this space. We can hollow it all out. And so now the cutaway works correctly. And if we start adding rooms, if we start to break this up with like rooms, we get this nice cutaway of the walls in front, a half cut of the walls in front, and then a nice terracing effect up and away from the block. Not much is going on with you, Skywalk. You're working and watching Twitch, multitasking at its finest. Truly. Truly. Well, I appreciate that you consider this a good co-working stream. That's what we aim for. Some streams are good co-working streams in my mind, and then some of them are too interesting, where I start to try to watch them, and I'm like, there's too much going on here. I can't get anything done. But yeah, I think this is a reasonable compromise between some of the different cutaway models we've tried. There are some issues with the corners. You'll notice the little corner pieces, like here, like these little corner pieces. There's some issues with those, but that's easy to fix. I just didn't want to spend this stream working on them, so I decided not to. Oh yeah, that reminds me of a thing that I want to do. I want to set up raycast input. So I want to imitate a raycast when I'm doing input. And in fact, I think I'm going to put raycast in quotation marks because it's not a real raycast, but I want to imitate raycast with the input. That's something I want to do, because right now you basically defined the Z level you want to interface in, or you want to point into, and that's the only way to do it. I want to have it be more of like a raycast where you hit the surface and then you can drill into it with the scroll wheel. So you can be like, no, show me the wall behind that. No, show me the wall behind that. Rather than just say, I'm being mapped to this Z level, and then you scroll up or down to a different Z level. I don't know. I don't know what will be better, but I want to try this. I think this would be fun to try. You see a lot of progress here too, Skywalk? That's great. Rhiannon Journey. Does it work with a donut room? All right, we'll try it. We'll try it. I switched to an axis aligned bounding box system for the cutaway, where each compartment gets a bounding box. So it works best when the room is room shaped. But yeah, let's see. Let's see how it handles the donut room. I think it'll be okay. I think it might look a little weird, but let's just try it. It should probably be fine. Skywalk, you'd never have the patience to make this isometric map editor. You just work on it bit by bit. Bit by little bit. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a room inside this room. We're going to see what happens. Hey, that actually works kind of okay. Oh, no. Well. Huh. Oh. This actually works kind of okay. I would have expected these walls to be knocked down. What we're gonna need is like transparent outlines that project through the walls. If there's like something behind the wall that's like a half wall, we need it to like show through. Like when a villager walks behind like the town center in an Age of Empires or something like that, we need like a little... Yeah, it's not bad. It's making use of the local cutaway. So if you'll notice, there's still a local cutaway where that follows the cursor, and that's to handle interior shapes. Like let's say there's columns or whatever, and you're in a room. That way, if you mouse behind those objects, you have them cut away. And that seems to be what's supporting this kind of a thing. So that's okay. That's okay. Is it perfect? No. One thing I need to work is the auto tiler outline. I want to change the way outlining works. Right now, the black outline is not recalculated. based on the cutaway. So you don't get outlines based around the actual cutaway. You only get outlines based around the actual hull types at work. So I'm gonna put that on my plan. I'm gonna call it auto tile outlines. Or I don't know, maybe that's not. Yeah, we'll call it like maybe we'll call it like cutaway aware auto tile outline. Let's see what we can do here. Auto tile is going to be added to the dictionary. We're going to use that term all the time. So cutaway or auto tile outline is something I want to do. I don't have anything in the completed category because I would need to like look back and see what I've done. And there's a question in my mind of structure of like, let's say we call this the like block auto tiling. So we've got block auto tiling. If I want to add cutaway away auto tile outlines, is that just me taking the block auto tiling, putting it back in progress and doing that? I don't know. I don't think so. I think for the sake of our sanity, we're not going to do that. I think we'll think of it a little differently. Just to keep from losing our minds. But yeah, today is kind of like pie in the sky. Let's just make these lists. Let's think. What else? What else do we need? What else would we like? Should I make this a little... Should I make these a little bigger? Do I have room to make these a little bigger here so that they can be a little more descriptive? I think I do. I like brevity, but not at the cost of like expression. Like I like having things being simple up until no one knows what I'm talking about because I've oversimplified. So what about this? Can we fit this? Yeah, I think we can. Frankly, we don't even need them to be this far apart, do we? We can just get rid of these. I don't have a real Kanban board, so we're making do. We're making do with this. Save and load. I want to say like block patterns. How much room do I have here? Block shapes. I want to say ships and like blocks. Maybe save and load block sets, like sets of blocks. So like I want you to be able to save, like if you make like here's like a engineering bay. I like this engineering bay, or I like this hallway design. You can just save it as like a prefab. Maybe we call it prefabs. No, we don't have room for prefabs. Block sets is fine. Say camera rotation. We'll say 45-degree camera rotation. I don't have access to the little 45-degree thing. How do I get that little O glyph? Can I just copy and paste it? There we go. Tile set, Atlas, Builder. Raycast, cursor, input. You can say here, cutaway, aware, outlines. Oh. Auto-tiled. Yeah, I like this additional space. It's a lot more room to be expressive. Actually, I don't know what else to do with the block palette. I think the block palette is maybe done. It just needs to be expanded, but I don't think it's fundamentally like, I think I'm okay with this pattern, this overall arrangement of the block palette, which is this thing. It'll just keep going down as we add more pieces to it, but maybe we need something else. Maybe we need something that's like tabbed. I guess it's not done. Oh, what I do need is an invalid block draw. I need to be able to draw invalid blocks. I can't do that right now. Like, if you try to place a door and that door position is invalid, it doesn't draw the door. But the door is there, but it doesn't draw it because it's invalid. So I need something for that. That's definitely something we need. Invalid block. Auto tiling. Auto tile invalid blocks. This is why I don't want to put block auto tiling in the completed list. I don't think I'm going to backfill the completed list. I think it looks shitty not having anything in the completed list, but I would rather not. Block palette expansion. Say expand block palette. That's something we can't currently do. Skywalk, you made 2 map editors. Ain't nowhere near fancy as this isometric editor. This thing is just next level. Thank you so much, Skywalk. Yeah, we've spent the better part of a year on it already, so but we've used it as a way to like explore how this stuff is going to work. So I feel like we've done a lot of gotten a lot of value out of exploring this tool. But yeah, we're getting to the point where it just needs to be done. Is that centered? That doesn't seem centered. I guess it can't be centered. Is there room to do this? Barely. There is. There's room. Yeah, I think this is nice. These are all the same size, right? All right. So we got to be able to auto tile invalid blocks. Block cutaway aware auto tiled outlines. Raycast cursor input. Tile set atlas builder. This is going to be a lot. Oh, we're in ads. Apologies. Don't forget to use those Prime subs. Save load block sets. Undo redo block tool. All right, copy, cut, and paste. All right. I swear there's more, right? There's more to be done, right? To finish this tool. Let's just maybe use the tool for a minute and think about... I can think of something already, but I'm just going to still mess around with some stuff. Let's say we just build some stuff out. Do a little bit of a bigger build here. I really don't like this. I might just change this right now. We might take a moment to change this, the way the exterior cutaway system works. I don't like it. So if we have things like, let's say we had like a hallway. Say we had like a 3-tile hallway, which I actually think is 1, 2, 3. Ooh, 3 is maybe the worst. Yeah, so have this. I like the raycast input thing. I think that would be cool because then it could be like you'd basically touch the edge of the ship here, and then you'd scroll forward, and it would bring you to the next piece. And then if you scrolled forward again, maybe it would take you to this piece, and it would just basically get a whole array of all of the tiles you're colliding with. And provide that in like a, and then you can just step into that depending on how you scroll wheel. I think that would be cool. I think that would be better than this because right now you're just hard blocked to a certain Z level and you use the scroll wheel to move up and down Z levels. I don't love that as much. Maybe it's easier to do it this way, but it's harder to move vertically. So like, under this system, I can't ever go up one level by just going to the right. I'd have to go to the right and scroll up. But I think it would be cool if I could just mouse over up to the next level. rather than having to scroll, then mouse over to the next level. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be easier for a lot of people in situations. But yeah, the half walls are looking really good with the doors, especially. It's really easy to tell that there's a door. Ooh. Some of that wall, some of the hull type auto tiling is incorrect, but that's fine. Like that door should not be light gray. That's fine. That can be figured out. Yeah, it's way easier to tell if there's a door than we were doing the full cutaway, where there was basically no way to tell. If you were cutting away the whole wall, you couldn't see where the doors were. But now you can. Doors read pretty good. But yeah, we are eventually going to need some kind of transparent draw through for stuff that's like stuck behind these half walls. Like if there's a, let's say there's a body, like let's say someone passed out behind this wall. You'd need to be able to see that. And at the moment, the only way to see that would be to rotate the camera. Which, I don't know, maybe that's okay. But I think a see-through transparency thing would be good for this sort of thing. I think that'd be a good way to handle it. Huh. What if I do this? There we go. All right, so I can already tell one thing that we need to do, which is we need dynamic, or what we need to do is we need to be able to, you say dynamically sized block buffers. I should say resizable. I want the block buffers, the block 3D buffers, to be the size. I don't want them to be the size of the maximum buildable area. I want them to be resized based on what's actually being used, which during edit time, that's going to involve a lot of reallocation, which is not great, but it's going to be really nice for a number of reasons. So when I say resizable block buffer, yeah, that's important. I want one of those. Give me one of those for Christmas. Technically, the buffers themselves can be resized. We just don't have a process for doing that in the tool, in the editor tool. So we need to do that. I'm going to put the camera rotations as in progress because we do have them. They just aren't done. I think it's going to really help us to have this list of tasks. Hopefully it prevents us from doing the thing we just did, which was we spent like maybe a month on the block cutaway system because we were like, well, we need to have one, so we might as well finish it. I want to be a little, I want to feel a little more pressure to move forward. I want to feel a little more of that pressure. So that's the center. So put the center here. Okay. Skywalk, will you have the history too? Control Z, Control Y. Yeah, that's going to be the undo redo block tool. I don't know how long we're going to hold on to the history. It might be one of those things where it's like, it's not going to be like a parametric tool where like you can't just load a saved block set and then just go through the history and roll it back. But I think it'll work within a construction. So I don't know if it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be something we just hold on to indefinitely. But yeah, that's definitely important. And I actually think that's kind of a precursor to being able to do the save and loading, maybe. Maybe not. Actually, no, they're kind of independent, aren't they? Kind of. No, don't be sorry. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to just think of possible tasks to put on this list. Oh, excuse me. Big yawn here. Man, I wish that fit. I just say and here. Copy or cut and paste tool. Sure, why not? All right. I can't think of anything at the moment, so let's fix a few little bugs. Let's fix a few little issues while we're here. So the selection thing is concerning. Let's look at that one. The fact that we aren't settling things that we paste into the system. Let's try to figure out why that's happening. Oh, no, let's read this message first. Skywalk. You don't know if I will have different textures down the line, but a replace tool is always helpful. Like replace all, this gray wall from gray to white, or X texture, like batch tools, replace all doors to this door texture, etc. That's a good question about how we're going to do that. At the moment, I don't have plans to actually put like art tools in the editor, because if we start down that road, we're going to end up implementing a sprite in the game. And that's too much. So I think to an extent that's tough. But what would be interesting maybe would be a block replace. Like it'd be interesting if it's index based or something like that, where you have a certain block. And then so if someone does like a texture swap, or not a texture swap, but like a block swap or something, it replaces it. Like if you want a different color scheme or something. I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question. Oh, I forgot. Well, we need a half scale visualizer, but I don't think that's, I actually think that's a simulation problem. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I was talking earlier, I want a system where I can just draw like the 4 angles of an isometric block and then be able to generate the tile atlas from that. So like we pass this in, like an image of these 4 in, and then we like pass in equivalents that have like almost like normal mapping, but it's like which side corresponds to which piece. And then be able to like generate and be able to figure out what pieces make that up, and then build out the tile atlas from those pieces automatically. I would really like that. I would really be able to be able to make new blocks by just defining this, along with maybe some additional information about like just a little bit of additional information. But yeah, your idea about a replace tool is interesting. It would be like a block replace tool. And you could say, so when would we want that? Because on one level, if you're like, all of these are going to be replaced by something else, you could do that at the atlas level, where you just replace everything in the atlas. But I actually don't think that's a bad idea. Like, what there should at least be is like an eyedropper tool, right? That would be the precursor to like a replace tool. So you're thinking of like a paint bucket tool, but for blocks, where like you could say, I don't know, for example, you're like, I want to replace all of these blocks with these blocks. That's cool. Paint bucket tool replacer. Yeah. That's not a bad idea. Let's put that down. That could be fun. I'm not putting any kind of priority levels. I know some people will at this point would be like, all right, let's have a list of like must-haves and like nice to haves and like need to haves. Let's prioritize these. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because we don't have a deadline at the moment. We're just trying to organize our work a little bit better. And we don't have the visual space for that. But so let's say eyedropper. Is eyedropper one word? Eyedropper block tool. I think an eyedropper tool would be cool, so you can just click, you can just select a specific block. And maybe all it does is it like selects that block in the palette for you or something like that, like a palette picker kind of thing. And then we'll also have a paint bucket block tool. Oh, come on, please fit. You might need to call this like a block replacement tool. That doesn't fit either. Oh, we can't put it in the task list. It doesn't fit. Let's say paint bucket block replacement tool. If I'm your boss, everything is a must-have and the deadline is last week. Just kidding, it's not that bad. Block batch tool. That's not bad. It's not bad. We made it work. We made it work with a double line. I don't mind having a double line task. Yeah, no, I feel you, Rhiannon Journey. I had a big conversation with my boss today. I basically listed out every single project that I'm working on, and I'd be like, can I get some clarity on like what the actual priority list is here? Because sometimes it does feel like everything is urgent. And I'm like, if everything is urgent, then nothing is urgent. Like, but yeah, I got that clarity and it helped a lot. Because it does feel like that sometimes. Hey, Nix, how's it going? What's up? Happy Wednesday. How are you doing today? We're making a Kanban board here of all the tasks that we think need to be done to complete our tile block editor. We're kind of messing around with that. I think we got a pretty nice list so far. Skywalk, your boss is more like, oh, now that you're well vested with this tool, we took 2 years to implement and everything is working. We'll now delete it and replace it with another tool that will take 3 years to implement because we aren't renewing our license. Yeah, that's super real. That's super real. I've definitely had that argument of like, or I've had my hands be tied where like I'm not allowed to work on a feature because they're like, we're just gonna drop that vendor in a year, so why work on this feature? And I'm like, for quality of life for the next year? And they're like, no. And I'm like, no. So I'm used to that struggle of either your hands seem like they're tied or you're constantly like learning new stuff. Having to rebuild stuff because of license cost is the bane of your existence. Yeah, it really is. It really is. It really is. For me, it's that and trying to justify the cost of automating something so I don't have to do it manually for the rest of my life. Skywalk, welcome to the government of Canada, where your taxpayer money is well wasted. You know, I bet taxpayer money is better wasted in Canada than here in the States. All right. I think this list is okay. I'm probably forgetting about stuff that we're currently working on or that we finished and we're trying to test. That's probably what I should think about more. It seems like we've got a good list of stuff we're planning to build. As far as how long I think it's going to take for us to finish all of this stuff, I don't think all of this is going to get finished. I would love to finish this tileset atlas builder tool. That is going to be probably something I don't have finished, even by the time we finish the MVP. So I guess this isn't a list of like everything we have to be done with before we move on to the shipboard simulation, because I would like to move on to the shipboard simulation soon. I think the things that really need to be done before we can do that are like saving and loading, obviously, is probably the key. Saving and loading is probably the thing. I'm trying to think of any other structural changes that would really mess with the simulation. I probably need like block shape descriptions. That's something I need. Because right now a block isn't really aware of its shape, but it needs to be. Like a block needs to be aware. Like there's a big difference between this block here, like block 0, 0, 0. Block 0, 0, 0 is like a solid block, right? So like, this is great. You know this is sealed. You know anything that has this block is like fully sealed, right? For the flood fill. Whereas like this block, it does not fully seal anything. So I need to be able to describe that. The block needs to know whether it like forms a seal or like which way it's facing. I don't know if it needs to know which way it's facing, but it needs some kind of description about I'm this kind of a block and I do this. Or I have this effect. Like I think I might just call these decorations. Any block that doesn't like that isn't like a full wall like this, I think I'm just going to call it a decoration block. And it's not going to be used. It's not going to qualify as a sealant for the purpose of, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. Like one of these triangular blocks could diagonally seal a room. Like obviously this isn't a valid sealant block for like a side, but if this was the diagonal piece, it would work. So yeah, we need to be able to start describe block faces. So like this block faces a certain way. Yeah, I'm just gonna write this down as block shape descriptions. Maybe attributes, I don't know. Is that image of all the blocks generated from code, or I spent hours on that image? It looks generated. Which image? This one? This thing? This is a thing I drew because I wanted to figure out how this would draw out. I actually did spend hours because these are all unusual lines. Yeah, these are all unusual lines, and I really wanted to figure out how the rules worked, and I kind of did here. So this is like how diagonal cuts work. This is how you cut the faces. And then I have a similar one, it's like the double block. And then I drew out how these would work at half scale. And I also tried to cut the individual faces out. Yeah. Because we're going to have this thing where we are going to draw our tiles at full scale and half scale. So anything I draw at full scale needs to be made into half scale. I don't think I'm going to be able to generate the half scale versions of everything. I think everything's going to need to be drawn twice, which is not ideal. But I think it's survivable. Yeah. I mean, making the art easily workable is something I'm seriously thinking about, which is why we're talking about drawing everything with this kind of normal mapping, so that we can at least, because I'm okay with like drawing out the blocks that I want, but we need to be able to generate the tile sets and atlases like automatically. I'm not going to do that by hand. That would be like crazy town. I also don't want any modders to have to do that by hand either. I want them to be able to just send in, here's a block, here's like my sprite atlas of all the blocks, and then have the auto tiler, because the auto tiler, I want the artist to think on the level of a block, right? And the block is like this thing. I want to think on the level of the block, but the auto tiler thinks on the level of the face. So the auto tiler only understands faces. So there needs to be a process from getting blocks into faces, and I do not want to do that by hand. Either for myself or for modders or players or whatever. So I think that's where the automation is going to be. I don't think there's going to be a world in which we're like generating sprites for the game like this. Maybe block shape attributes. Maybe block descriptions. I need a way of characteristics. Or maybe characteristics. Block characteristics. I need to be able to describe these. Maybe we say describable block characteristics. I don't know. I actually don't know what that means. I don't know what this task means. I might remove it. Did I zoom out on accident? No. Huh. Why is there so much room here all of a sudden? Okay. Block shape standard. Yeah, there you go. ISO 9001. Yeah, I don't know what to, I'm going to need to be able to describe that better. So we're not going to talk about it. I swear I zoomed in or zoomed out. But I can't get back to the way I was, so I'm going to say it's fine. All right, so what do we do? We're on the second half of the stream here. Let's work on some stuff. I think that's enough planning. I think I'm all planned out for today, but we might come back tomorrow. I'm sure thinking on this overnight, we'll be able to add some more stuff to this. Actually, what I can put here is I could put I'm just gonna put complex block shapes because that's what we're dealing with, right? We need to be able to handle a complex block shape. Flood filling around complex block shapes is maybe what we're talking about. Have a great second half of stream. Thanks, Pheasant SC2. Now, I don't know how to describe this task, so I'm not going to put it on here until I can think of a description. But okay, we've spotted some bugs. Let's bug hunt. Let's do some bug hunting. Hopefully we get to play Peak soon as a Desi 2. It's been really good. It's been really fun to play. I don't know if anyone else has been playing this, but it came out. It's really good. I've been really enjoying it. Peak game, Steam. This game sold like 1 million copies in like 6 days or something like that. 16,000 positive reviews since June 16th, 9 days ago. This game is so fun. It's this little climbing game where you climb a series of mountains that gets successively more challenging with your friends, with like up to 4 friends. It's got like a proximity voice. And there's like 4 or 5 biomes to climb through. Really good stuff. Really fun. Yeah, this is really good stuff. Apparently this was just a jam game. I don't totally understand. I think it was a collaboration from between 2 studios, Aggro Crab and Landfall. And the developers have said some pretty funny stuff during interviews that they're like actually kind of frustrated with how well this game has done because it was such a short development cycle and they've spent way longer on games that ended up being way less successful. And I think that's the gamble now that you make. I think unless you're like, you know, me, a solo dev who's just kind of all in on like a very long-term project. I think if you're a small studio, you just keep rolling the dice, right? You just keep playing the game. You just make a game, see if it sticks. If it doesn't, you just move on to the next game. Yeah, this game is incredible. Really enjoyed it. All right, back to work. No more fun. But highly recommend. It's like less than $10. It's like a $5 game or something. At least it is when it's on sale. Which they launched it with like a 30 to 40% discount, which is insane. And I don't think I've actually seen anyone do that. But it clearly paid off. Because, you know, $5 times 1 million is still pretty good. Even when you take Steam's cut out. And then you have to split it in half, I guess, because there are 2 studios involved. All right, so here's our problem. So the tool system. Structural change. Am I even using this? Oh, I am. Cool. Our problem is that when we paste something, it is not being... Those blocks aren't being settled. So they're not being transitioned from preview state to a settled state. Like, because there are preview blocks, which is like you're hovering the mouse around or you're click dragging a shape and you're like, you haven't decided what it's going to be. Only when you lift the mouse or you press paste or whatever does that get solidified. So yeah, that's not happening here in paste. So how do we settle blocks? Let's look at place and let's look at end. Settle preview blocks, settle blocks, structural change equals true. So we need to add this to paste, basically. Hopefully that's literally all we do. That might be it. That might be all we need to do. Block.merge, settle blocks, preview blocks. I made all these merge functions. I haven't really used them for much. But it's pretty easy here. All right. That should have fixed that. Let's see if that does. Let's see if we can now select things that have been pasted. And let's see if the flood fill system understands them and recognizes them. know why I did it like this. We didn't need such a big testing area. I like do this in my sleep sometimes, it seems. All right, let's grab this. Let's grab this section. Actually, let's grab the whole thing. So let's grab... Oh, I don't want to grab all of that. Yeah, let's just... Interesting. So here, there's this big outline. We'll take care of the half wall thing. I think I just need to teach the auto tiler what a half wall is in the context of the selection box. I think I just haven't done that. So here, when we're inside, it's this white outline, which is easy to see. When we're on the outside, it's this gray. Oh, this is drawn totally differently when we're on the exterior than when we're on the interior. That's fascinating. How'd I end up doing that? How do I have a totally different process for drawing this inside versus outside? Huh. Okay. That warrants further exploration. But the thing we want to do right now is we want to just grab this piece. Let's just grab this piece. Copy. And then just paste it in here. Okay, now can I grab it? Can I grab this now? Okay, now I can grab it. Cool. And then if I put a roof over it, and I go back inside. Oh, that's weird. What's happening here? Huh. That's how the cutaway works? Oh, I guess that actually makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I think updating the outlines to be cutaway aware is going to make it a lot more clear, these weird nebulous dark gray shapes. Right now they don't have any outlines. Or they don't have interior outlines that explains what the shape is. Okay. Well, that's one bug fixed. What I don't understand is why this works. Why this looks correct in here, but it looks incorrect out here. I think we're just maybe using a different atlas for this. That seems unlikely. Oh well, we need to fix the selection stuff anyway, because right now the selection can't tell the difference between a half wall cut and a full wall. So we need the selection thing to update when this changes. That should be relatively easy to fix. Two nerdy nerds. Cutaway aware is your favorite word now. Thanks. How's it going, nerds? We're almost done. We're almost done with the... And when I say we're almost done with the editor tool, we've gotten so far as we've made a Kanban board of what we have left to work on the editor tool. This is how you know we're serious about finishing it now. We're trying to enumerate all the different little tasks we want to complete. That was the copy, cut, and paste tool we were reviewing and fixing. So that's fixed now. We can continue to leave this in review. I think there are some more changes I want to make before we consider that completed. Same with the cutaway. There's some minor nitpicks. That's easy. All good. You've been lurking and quietly whispering to yourself, what a madman. That's reassuring. I mean, if your scope's not creeping, what are you doing, right? All right, so the thing we want, what did I say I was going to do? Oh yeah, I was going to look at the grid updating part. So that happens way down here. Let the scope creep. If only there was a way to map let the scope creep to like let the bodies hit the floor. If only there was a more clean phonetic mapping between those two. It's the natural order of things. True. All right, so what we do, so the difference between what we were doing and what we're doing here. So this system, so the bulk X says if half cut mask contains key XYZ, we just do that. I'm pretty sure I've already prepared the tile atlases to be able to do this for the selection. I don't think it uses a different tile set, but maybe it... Oh, no, it totally does. Totally does. It shouldn't. We should unify these at some point. Here we go. All right, so grid XY. Okay, so I just need to... I need to actually add a few things here. So we already have them in the tile, whatever. I just need to map them here. That's easy. That's pretty easy. So the grid deck Z. Okay, the grid deck Z needs to be updated, and the... Oh, no, the grid bulk Z needs to be updated, and the grid bulk XY needs to be updated, just to include these shapes. Easy. Easy peasy. So add these on here. We already did the hard work of incorporating it. So what are your texture origins? -8, 10? Whoop. Whoop. Will you let me select something else, please? There you go. -8, 10. And then what we need to do is we need to make alternative tiles. And those all need to be 8, 10. And they need to be flip H'd. All right. That should be it for that. Super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Grid bulk Z. We need to set these up here. Expand. I think it was easier to just do it like this. Just duplicate. And then, so your texture origin is 24. Y'all's should be 12. As being half of 24, because it's a half wall cut. The one that isn't sorted out... Oh, we need to do the doors. Okay, we need to handle the doors. That's easy. How do I do that with the other one? Did I rewrite this to an extent for the doors? Am I using both of these? Yes, but we don't need to. I'm very pleased with how good the half-cut doors look. I was concerned it would be confusing and weird, but it's actually very nice. With the exception of the triple door, I need to change the triple door arrows. The triple door arrows are in the wrong spot, and you can kind of see, because here it's cut off here and not cut off here. So the left arrow needs to move down at least 1 pixel. But do I really want to redraw the whole animation just to achieve that? Sure. Why not? All right. Well, this is an easy change. So let's finish that up. The grid default T-res here. Go down to grid bulk, grid door 1. And we just need to add this one. I know I drew this twice, don't worry about it. You need not worry. 0, 12. Okay, so these are also going to just be 12. And then we make an alt tile. And we also make that 12. And we flip H. And then I need to update these two. I really don't like the way I ordered these, but that's fine. Not a huge problem. So minus 814. So add you. Then you have minus 814. Do this one. Actually, let's just... Yeah, let's do these first. So add this one, and then this is going to be 810. And then we need alt tile variants of these. So create an alt tile. Wait, what? Why are you already flipped? Oh, it's this one. I just grabbed the wrong one. And then you're at 814. You're also 814. Grab this one. Alt tile here. Flip H. And then minus 810. All right, almost there. Almost there. All right, triple door, triple door, triple door. Oh, the half cutaway is hilarious. It's like not necessary at all, but I'm still gonna make the tile. So we're gonna make all three of these. Just for yucks. I'll still set up the middle tile just so the system doesn't get confused. Or in case the atlas changes in the future. Probably also a good reason to do it. Minus 416. This one is 12. This one is 48. Half transparent tile will be there in our hearts. Yeah. Yeah, it's because it's just this top chunk that kind of goes up and disappears. So it's like it doesn't have a bottom half, but whatever. The auto tiler will feel like it's doing a good job. It'll be like, I drew the tile that you wanted. And I'll be like, yeah, you did. You did a great job. All right, so this is going to get flipped. And it's going to get origin of 416. Let's make an alternative of this empty tile. Let's flip it. Let's make sure we flip it. I want to make sure our empty tiles are flipped correctly. And then we'll set the texture origin. And then we'll make one of these. -4, 8. There we go. All right, and that should be it. All right. Selection grid should be good to go. Now all we need to do is teach the auto tiler about it. Should be easy. How's work on Dr. J Ferret? Two nerdy nerds. Dr. J Ferret reclaims the living. Oh, is it just going to be called Reclaim the Living? That's probably good, right? That's probably good for SEO. And somewhat slow, working on it mostly on stream, but still moving along. Yeah, I have such a hard time getting time to work on my game off stream. But I get so tired sometime of like working on the same thing that I'll just force myself to do it off stream. I'll be like, I swear we're never touching the cutaway system on stream again. And then it's my job to work on it off stream. But yeah, Reclaim the Living, that's great. Very excited. The Steam page is looking killer. You got that up fast. That was a good call. Nice flip. That was a nice flip you did there. Yeah, what is that's pretty great. Very cool. Everyone should go wishlist this. This too complicated? Yeah. No, I feel that. All right, so now all we do down here. So we can grab this because I think this is true for here. So we can go down here to the layers. We can say if key. All right, how am I getting this stuff? Oh man, we generate this per tile, huh? Oh, no, of course we do. Of course we do. So we say easy. Just throw this on at the end for not that tile. This tile. We also do the same thing here. And then for this one, is it also 4 for the Z? Yeah, it is. Okay. It's pretty easy. It's a pretty easy update. All right. And then for the doors. So here. How do I do that up here? I just do that way up here, right? Yeah, I don't even do it in the switch case. I just do it here. Okay. Hey, Nix. What are today's plans? Oh, so what we did is we kind of planned out a number of tasks that we need to do to complete our tile block editor. Because we're really trying to start to plot out the process through this roadmap to the alpha MVP launch, which involves doing these 4 things. And we spent all of our time on this first thing so far, so I really would like to just be done with this part. So we can move on to the fun part, which is going to be getting the shipboard simulation, which is going to be like the pathfinding, getting like atmosphere stuff like oxygen and like fire propagation, getting stuff like power moving through the ship along the walls and the floor. That's all going to be very exciting. So we've at least got a board now to guide us through the rest of the work on the tile block editor. I should really, to really like boost my ego, I should start filling this completed list with like all the stuff I've already done. Like built-in entity component system from scratch. Dynamic buffer support. I should really pad this up because right now it looks like I haven't done shit. Fun part. Yeah. We'll get there. First, we have to build character before we can have any fun. All right, so we should be able to just say this. Oh, why? Value is not used in any execution path. Oh, Lord, because we just set it to 0. Well, let's just do it after this part then. Where are we going to do this? So we can get out of this switch statement, and then what? We break out of this whole case. Oh, so we have to do it like down here. +1. That should be sufficient. This is all suspense building. Skywalk. Bro ain't done shit. Nothing in the completed column. Yeah, it's truly appalling. You're hooked. Good. Nix, by the way, yesterday you just finished a new game. You think I might be interested in it? It's called Ixion. Oh, yeah, I've heard of Ixion. It's a space colony survivor sim, but you play on a spaceship that you have to, like, move around and stuff. Yeah, that seems cool. Ixion. It's one of these games that I'm probably going to get when it's like 50% off. But this seems really cool. I liked how it's like on this curved surface. I like that. I definitely like that about it. Yeah, this seems fun. This seems really high res. Like the production values seem incredible. That capsule. Yeah, it's pretty wild. But yeah, I think this would be really cool. This is giving to me very like Frostpunk, but like in space, just as far as like the crazy production values. But yeah, this seems really cool. Yeah, I'm down to play this. Right now we're playing through Void War on stream on Saturdays. That's been pretty fun. That's like the FTL 40K ripoff that we love. It reminded you of Frostpunk as well. It's basically that, just in space. I'm down for Frostpunk in space. I started a Frostpunk 2 playthrough, and I kind of just stopped playing it. And not for any good reason. Like, it's an incredible game. There was really no reason to stop playing it. Probably get back to it at some point. What engine is that built on? Unity? Oh, yeah, Unity. I remember hearing about some of the stuff they did for that game. I think they might have used some of the .ccs stuff. Because I remember hearing about that while I was still doing Unity stuff. And I think that made me interested. But I don't actually remember. What am I doing? Why am I testing this? Oh yeah, I'm testing the selection stuff. So let's see if we can select a half wall correctly. Hey, yep. Cool. So we can select, so... Yep. Okay, so the selection just adjusts itself to whether the wall is going up or down. Well, that was an easy fix. What I still don't understand is why we have this nice, clean grid in here when we're inside. But when we're outside of the ship, we get this janky one. I mean, I like the implied grid lines. But this is messed up, and I don't totally understand why. No time to celebrate the bugs we fixed, because there's always more. We should look at this code a little bit to try to understand what effect hull type has. Because that seems to be what's happening, is that hull type is affecting the grid tile map data update. Nix, you were really looking forward to Frostpunk 2 as well. When it came out, you did like 2 playthroughs and then stopped. Well, 2 playthroughs is pretty huge. I'm like partway into 1 playthrough. I think it was really smart the way they did that game, because they kind of... Frostpunk 1 is like just this nice constrained like 1 settlement. And then Frostpunk 2 is like the 1 settlement, but it's like much bigger. It's gone from like a city builder to like a grand strategy game. And I think that's super smart from like a sequel standpoint, because like they already did Frostpunk. They already did the city builder version of Frostpunk, and it's perfect and it looks good. So it's not like a game that's like going to become obsolete anytime soon. And it was really smart in my mind to go bigger with the sequel, to like do something else and make a different kind of game, which is always dangerous. Because there's always someone you're gonna disappoint if you don't just happen to make the same game again, but with more stuff. But I think that was a better approach to making a sequel. I enjoyed it. Nix, you do not want to spoiler anything about Frostpunk 2, but I should finish it. All right. I will try. I was saying about how I'm obsessed with Peak right now. I've been playing that with my friends. It's incredible. Everyone go get Peak. It's like $5 to $10 or something. And it's like the most co-op fun I've had in a long time. All right, so I don't understand why the selection grid would get drawn differently depending on the hull type of the outer hull. So how? So we have some stuff about, we analyze the block, sure. Yeah, that's very strange to me why that's being treated differently. Let me go look up at the control flow here of the overall program. So you do all this stuff, you generate the tile set data, you say if the game is in the peak state, you update the grid tile map data with the merging blocks. There is a problem that somehow hasn't been a problem, which is that we really only understand the AABB for the settled blocks. And yet we're able to use the merged blocks. Fascinating. Fascinating. Nyx, also fun fact, you used to hate Ixion because during your BSc, you had to make an animation. You decided to make a ship very similar to the ship you play Ixion in, and it made you a bit annoyed because you wanted to make a space colony game based on your ship. I mean, all of those ships are like big rotating cylinders, right? I mean, the Ixion ship is just looked like Babylon 5 as a ship. I think everyone just wants to imitate the coolness of like the initial Starliner from like 2001, A Space Odyssey, the rotating hull and everything. I don't know what that ship was called. I don't remember. I'm a 2001 poser. Except the fact that I've seen 2010, the year we make contact. Yeah, I am a little perplexed. I'm going to look at this again. As we sit here in ads, I'm going to try to understand why the behavior would be different for these two different situations. So, if I make the simplest little container here. So in here, I can do the grid selection stuff, and it just works. But if I'm out here, it works very differently. I mean, I kind of don't mind the visual difference. I don't hate it. I kind of like this, but I need to understand what's drawing this. As far as I can tell, it's going through the same process in both cases, but obviously that's not true. Huh. Huh. I do understand why the outline is not on the bottom. That I did that on purpose. Obviously, it's not a long-term solution, but I was trying to address a specific problem that the autotiler has, and I didn't want to do the work, so I didn't. You should watch 2001 again. It's called the USSC Discovery. Oh, okay, okay. It's good to know. Oh, yeah, I kind of remember the mention of Discovery. I weirdly remember that more from 2010. For reasons that I won't spoil for people that have seen, that still want to go watch 2010. ...2001 is worth a rewatch. Pretty much if you ask any famous film director that's done like a sci-fi movie what their like favorite sci-fi film is, they almost all say 2001. It was so influential. For good reason. For very good reason. All right, so why would this be different? Where are we? You know, I could probably work on something else real quick. There's probably other things I could work on. So we figure out the hull type of everything. Fine. We figure out everyone's hull type. That shouldn't have anything to do with this part. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look directly at the... Is there like possibly a different... Is it possible we're using a totally different tile set in that case? Is there like some crazy old chunk of code doing that? It's possible. It seems unlikely, but it's also possible. Why are these these are all the same file? Why are they in a different spot on each of these? So funny. Oh, it's probably because of the alternative tiles. It's probably pushing it around to keep it centered. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Nyx just made Ixion. No big deal. I wonder where this is happening. There was another issue I wanted to fix. Oh yeah, I just want to fix the exterior cutaway system first. I don't like the way the exterior cutaway system works. What we should do is we should probably get rid of some of this old code here. It's not being used. Yeah. Let's get rid of all this junk. By junk, I mean 100, 200 lines of code that I made very painstakingly and then threw away because it was too much of a pain in the butt to maintain. All right, so exterior cutaway blocks by cursor coords. This is what governs that happens when we're in the exterior and we're doing these half cut masks, and I don't think I want to do that. The problem is I need okay, so to change this I need a third third designation. So right now we have like half cut and full cut, but what we really need is a full wall cut, half wall cut, and a floor plus everything else cut, like an actual full cut. So I need a third kind of cutaway designation so that I can cut away either half a wall, all of the wall, or the floor plus everything above the floor. So it's like 3 successive kinds of cutaways. I need to do that. And I can't change this until I do that. I'm not going to put that on the Kanban board. That's just a subcategory of the block cutaway system. Yeah, this is kind of a mystery. Kind of a mystery how we end up in this position. So we're sorting this by hull to some extent. You know, we're doing it in here. So let's go through this pretty thoroughly and try to understand what's happening here. Update grid tile map data, target node, block buffer, sure. For each key in tiles.keys, yeah. So we only consider tiles that are gonna be drawn. That's a good start. We discount any block that isn't selected. We grab the tile data. We look at all of our block neighbors for some reason. Probably to, yeah, pick the correct outlining. Sure. We don't consider hull type at all in this block of code. So, like, I don't understand how the behavior would differ based on the hull type when we don't even look at the hull type in this code. That's kind of insane. Well, it's a bit of a mystery is what it is. Why that would be drawn differently for an interior. Oh, I think I maybe have an idea. Let's go back to the whole default T-res. Are we drawing these different? Is the inner and the outer like actually being drawn different? I don't think so. Nope. Nope. That can't be it. It would be one thing if there was like... I'm gonna go look in Asprite. There's gotta be some explanation for why these are being drawn differently. So here we're hiding that stuff. Sure. Oh, you know what? Somehow we're probably just using the 0. We're probably just using just this tile in that case. And then in the other case, we're like actually trying to do the outlining. Maybe that's how that's happening. So mysterious. Okay, so that has that. That has that. This has... Oh, I figured it out. I figured it out. These are not all the same. Cool. Easy. It was a problem. It was not a control flow thing. It's a problem with these pieces. They need to get erased. These edge pieces here. So that the selection can be drawn through them. Do we do the bottom ones as well? No, just the top ones. Okay. This should fix that issue. Might not like how it looks now, but it'll at least be consistent, and then we can decide about what we want to do about that. Because, yeah, I think this was just drawing through the selection overlay. Whereas with the other hull types, that wasn't happening because they're correctly being trimmed down here on the top sides. So we just need to do the same. Skywalk, you have a few still wrong at first glance. Fourth column. Yeah, I'm working my way down. It's the top lines, the gray part of the top lines of each one need to be trimmed. So I'm working my way down here. Thank you. Oop. Okay, I think the third row is done. Fourth row, here we come. Okay, yeah, I'm working on the fourth row. Fourth row. Oop. And I don't technically need to do this twice. I could just... Well, I'd have to do it like this. Looks like the first 4 rows are all good, so I can just copy that down here. Go. This is hull default outer. Export that. All right, we should be good. Should be good to go. Oops, I exported it with the background layer on. Whoopsies. There we go. right, let's do a quick check to see if this worked. And then I will dig into an update from Nix. That seems to be able to be TLDR'd as an F Microsoft. I'm excited to hear this. All right, we can do the test in 2 layers. A test in 2 layers. All right, so we got that all good here. Still some awkwardness when it's like that, but that's fine. We can work on that. And then if we do the same thing up here, okay, consistency. I kind of like the subtlety of the other solution, but there's certain issues of draw priority that it's unable to deal with. All right, that looks good though. That looks correct. All right, Nix. Excuse me. And you like how the floor has thickness that you can see with the tile highlights? Yeah, to me it was important that the floors have thickness. They're not just like these paper thin things. So you're working on this one CRM soft at work for 2 years now, right? A week ago, your boss decided to change out the main part that you built the whole software around because it became too limiting. Classic. Good thing 2 years ago you didn't mention that eventually you would run into this exact issue. That you should do everything in-house, as it would be easier and faster and all in all more smoother for the user, not to mention considerably cheaper. That's funny. Also the walls when it's halfway hidden. Yeah, the half-cut walls are crucial because otherwise you can't tell like where a wall is when you're doing a cutaway. It gets very disorienting, but the half-cut is very nice. I want to take the half-cut away when you're doing this phase though, when you're just kind of doing this part. Like when you're not dealing with compartments, you're just kind of dealing with shapes. I don't want the half-cut wall thing, I don't think. Maybe I do. I guess that it still has its use. Yeah, maybe I do. I still need that third type of cutaway. So we need to implement that either way, but whatever. But yeah, I like the general proportion of the walls and the floors. I think it's nice. You mean the half-cut highlight? Oh yeah, the half-cut highlight. That's what we just did. We just set that up. It does help a lot, and I'm glad that it updates. It updates to fit with whatever the regular tile is decided to draw, which honestly, there's probably an optimization we could make there where we don't have to like duplicate some of the effort. But the thing about it is, when I set this up, the cutaway rules for the selection were different than the cutaway rules for the regular tiles. I don't know if that's going to still be true when the auto tiler becomes cutaway away, but it may not be, at which point we can address some of this stuff. So what happens if I try to rotate the camera just for shits and giggles here? Okay, so the drawing works, the selection still works, the exterior cutaway still works, but the thing is the interior cutaway will not work if we try to rotate the camera. I also need to, part of the reason we're going to have the dynamic buffer size is so that the camera rotation can be in the middle of the construction instead of around the world origin right now, which is super disorienting. So that's already on the board to complete. Yeah, okay, so camera rotation is working all right. For that purpose, at least. For selection and placement. For placement and selection, it works. I think for copy and paste, it's broken. And I think for interior cutaway, it's also broken. So that's something we'll probably work on soon. Was I able to figure out what the problem was with the rooms where the wall was thicker outside the room? I think so. I think we sorted that out. We switched to bounding box based cutaway, which simplified a lot and seems to mostly work in most situations. I think it looks great having it as an overlay, especially when I make some greeble walls. Oh yeah, it's gonna look real great. You wanted to mention having the camera rotate around a hidden middle point where the camera sits would be cool. That would be cool. Here's the reason why we can't actually do that, which is why we need to implement the dynamic buffer sizes for these. So these are 3D buffers that contain all the block data, right? Right now, the buffers aren't being resized based on what's actually being used. They're just sized to like whatever the maximum is for most purposes. And the reason we have to do it that way, and the reason why that matters for the camera rotation stuff. So I think if I rotate the camera now, yeah, so now the system doesn't understand because now we're at a different angle in the cutaway. The cursor cutaway, I think, is being mapped to the wrong point. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But the reason we can't just rotate around a midpoint of where the camera is because there is no camera, really. I mean, there is a camera, but it's not the camera that's rotating. It's the entire world that's being redrawn. So it's really the world that's rotating. And yeah, you could rotate the world about this center point from the camera, I guess. But I think I would rather have the ships rotating around their midpoint. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're right. Maybe we should have it be based on where the camera is. Maybe that's the same, though, ultimately. Because, yeah, this is essentially rotating around where the camera is pointed at, just because I happen to be pointing at, like, the origin, or pretty close to it. But I think I would rather if this just rotated on its own space. Obviously, you can't tell that it's doing that if you don't, like, have some details. Cool. All right, that all works. Pretty reasonable. This has been pretty good. I don't think there's anything else I want to solve at the exact moment. You sent me a DM about what you meant? Yeah, cool. I will take a look at that. I think if I was being responsible, I would prioritize working on save load and undo redo so we can really move on. But I think I want to tackle some of these other things first. I think I want the block cutaway aware auto tiled outlines. I think that's easy to do. We also need to auto tile invalid blocks, especially doors, because right now if you place a block that's not valid, which at the moment is only doors, doors have like certain rules about where they need to be or they aren't going to show up right, which is reasonable. Like you can't just place a door in the middle of nowhere. So I think I want to do that because doors need to get drawn. I need like an invalid block stand-in, like the equivalent of like the magenta. Yeah, I basically need that. I need like a weird magenta, like this is obviously wrong stand-in kind of block that I can put when something's invalid and can't be drawn. Resizable block buffer. We talked about why we want that just now. Yeah, rotating around where the camera is sitting is a good idea. I'm thinking about it. It's a little tricky the way the rotations are handled by the axis aligned bounding boxes. They really can only rotate around their center, but I could just define a center. I could just define an axis aligned bounding box for the rotation, and it's just a box that's like the size of the room, and its center is always the camera. Could be cool. I mean, I could do rotations otherwise. It was just easy to do with the bounding boxes. Basically, there would be a transform node sit at the middle of the box, and the camera would be offset from that. So when you rotate the middle transform, it would take the camera with it. Obviously, in this case, it wouldn't work like that, because you don't have that type of movement in a 2D tile-based game with a fake camera. Maybe it helps in some way. No, I think you're right, because I think you do want the rotation to be around the focal point of the camera. I'll need to implement this raycast thing, I think. I think I'll need a version of like the raycast cursor endpoint that comes from the camera and hits the same Z level of wherever the cursor is at. And I can use that to pinpoint a rotation, like a pivot point for rotation of the camera. And that way, I think that would be the least disruptive to the player. Like, that's what they would expect a camera to do for a 45-degree rotation. So I think you're right. We still need resizable block buffers, but maybe not for that purpose. Yeah, a raycast would pretty much solve that. Maybe make it so it comes out from the middle center of the screen, right onto the same Z level the user is on. Yeah, that's, I think, how that would work. And that should be pretty easy. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's probably how we'll do the camera rotation. Shouldn't be that hard to change. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm pleased with our planning around the tile block editor. I think we'll be able to. There's actually less stuff on here than I thought there would be. There's some stuff that's like very long term, like the tile set and atlas builder. This is going to be a major undertaking, and this is not something that we need as part of the MVP. Because as long as I'm just building the initial set of art, I can just build that by hand. And we would use the initial set of art as like the model for whatever tool we built anyway. So we could probably start working on parts of this. But yeah, this is not something that's absolutely needed. Everything else is pretty... Same with the eyedropper and the paint bucket. I think that would be really cool to have. The eyedropper would be probably pretty easy to do. Paint bucket would be a little harder, but still doable. I think those would be cool. I do want to think more about that, about like what do people expect from an editor tool? And I want to make sure we've got all of those things. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I'm pretty pleased with where we're at right now. We're reaching the end of the stream for the day. Is there anything else super easy that I noticed that we could just knock out here? Let's see. Let's double check. In our last few minutes here, if there's something we can just knock out. If no, I'm totally down to just end it. We should mock up what an invalid block looks like. Get that in there. Oh, excuse me. Wonder what happens if we make like a horseshoe-shaped room. Wonder how the auto tiler handles that. Or not the auto tiler, but the cutaway system. Yeah, I don't like the half wall cut when we're in build mode like this, because it's like really hard to see. Maybe we need to do more vertical cutaway stuff. When we're in build mode. We'll see. Think about it. I kind of like that it doesn't do vertical cutaways when you're in that exterior build mode. What was I going to try? Oh, yeah, we were going to test like a horseshoe-shaped room. See what happened. See how the auto tiler treats it. Oh, I do need to disallow. I need to restrict the wall building tool. Okay, it works the same as the donut-shaped room, which is like not perfect, but it's like okay. It's pretty okay. A little jarring when you do something like this, but whatever. What if we had a double thick wall? What happens then? Let's undo this here. How does double thick walls handled? I guess this is not a good example. I think I need to disallow the double thick wall. Oh, it actually works. Oh, maybe I don't need to disallow the double thick wall. Maybe that's something that's okay. I still don't know if from a mechanic standpoint you want to have a double thick wall. Like, it's kind of like the boring thing. You're like, oh, well, I need more armor here. We'll just add another wall. I also don't know if the double thick wall will work if one of those walls is an exterior wall. Yeah, it doesn't half cut that away correctly. Yeah, I should probably just disallow that. Oh, now it works. Why does it work now? Oh, I understand. Actually, that totally works. Maybe the double thick wall is okay. I need to think about that from a design standpoint more. Nix, I could hide the ceiling when you're making the rooms. Yeah. You think the double thick wall looks good? It does look okay. Would you later on add an ortho view from top down, sort of like what FTL has? Absolutely not. I'd have to redraw all the art. We're dimetric for life. Ride or die metric. I'm pretty pleased with that. Ride or die metric. That's a good one. I'm going to remember that. Welcome back. Still needs work. We're wrapping up. Sorry. It's about our time. I need to go do laundry and then go back to work. But I think we had a productive stream. We did good stuff. Got a lot done today. We had a lot of nice... so many lovely people showed up. Thanks again, Titan, Black Void Titan, for the raid earlier. You had an appointment? No worries. We'll be back tomorrow. Be a lot of work. It could be cool. Maybe not now. You could use some fancy math to flatten out the floor tiles to cubic instead of 2.5D. Yeah. Yeah, there's probably something you could do to map it. I mean, that's what that other tool was doing that we looked at the beginning of the stream, but it was going in the opposite direction. It was mapping from flat to 2.5. So you could probably go backwards that way. But yeah, we're not going to think about any kind of orthographic view or anything like that. We might end up doing something if we want to have like... No, never mind. I was thinking maybe like miniature like layouts of like the different decks and stuff, but you would need to draw that from multiple angles for it to make sense. So it's probably just better to keep it in dimetric. It would very much affect our level design if we started doing orthographic views like that. That's not just dimetric. It's like I said, we're ride or die metric. Anonymous gifter. Phaser blasting. Skywalk with the tier 1 sub. Thank you so much, Anonymous gifter. Really appreciate that. think we're gonna wrap that up. That's like the cherry on top of the stream today here. Nix, what about the animations for the characters? I guess I don't want to draw a new character frame for every type of clothing. The animation should be okay. I've definitely learned some tricks to do texture remapping of pixel art characters so that you can animate them once and then you can do like texture swaps based on, you basically just palletize them and you can swap it out. There's some cool resources on YouTube about that. So I'm not super concerned about that. Obviously, anyone who's not just wearing these kind of like Star Trek like pajamas, anyone who has like cloth that like takes up additional pixels, they'd need their own animations. But for now, we're really just planning to stick to a very simple like Star Trek aesthetic for the characters for now. That'll probably need to change because, you know, that only works for one faction, right? Only the player's faction can be the Star Trek like uniform, the simple Star Trek uniform. The enemies are obviously going to need different uniforms, so we'll see. It might not be that hard. The characters are, you know, 8 by 14. They're very small. You remember seeing a tutorial of someone who mapped textures onto characters? No, I've seen the same video. Yeah. Yeah. It's really good. Let me see if I can find it. YouTube pixel art character palette. I don't know. No, maybe palette's the wrong word. Animation. Where is this video? This person made a series of videos. I bet I subscribed to them. I could probably find it and we could talk about it tomorrow. Oh, here it is. Found it. Astortion. It's the Astortion devlog. I'm going to drop that in the chat. I'm not going to watch it on stream, but yeah, there's the 3D to 2D workflow is totally a thing that people use. That's not going to be me because I don't have a lot of 2D art skill, but I have even less 3D art skill, so we're just gonna draw it out. I like pixel art. Exact video, you just found it as well. Yeah, that I'm gonna use some of these tricks for sure, but we're definitely going all 2D. But yeah, this should help. This might even help with some. We'll have to see how flexible this is, if they have like, if there's any difference in terms of like if someone has like a sleeve that's like, oops, excuse me, that's like longer, or they have like a billowy thing. We'll have to see. We'll have to see about that. But that's fine. That's a little down the road. You like my 2D art? Thank you. Still needs work. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it will be manageable. It'll obviously be a lot of work to iterate to the extent that we need to iterate. We'll see. There's probably some tricks we're going to be able to do with normal mapping and lighting and stuff like that to not have to do everything, not duplicate. We're not trying to duplicate effort, you know, when avoidable, but yeah, I think it'll be cool. It's kind of nice. The characters are very side on. They're drawn very almost a pop-up book, like they're drawn side on, not really in the perspective of the environment, and it gives them a little distinction. And it's also easier for me to draw because I don't really have to think about you don't see the tops of their heads or their shoulders or anything. You see all the characters head on, quote unquote, straight on. And I think that helps a lot. And it's such a low resolution, you don't notice stuff like that. But I think that's interesting. I think from a player standpoint, that will help you distinguish foreground elements from background elements, because background elements will be in this dimetric perspective, and then foreground elements will be drawn straight on. And I think it will help with distinguishing the background from the foreground. Obviously, we can do some stuff to help with that from like a contrast standpoint or like color theory stuff, but I think that alone will be useful. Not trying to reinvent the wheel. Only the wheels that I don't like the design of. But no, we can't reinvent every wheel. We can try though. All right. I think that's it for today. I think I'm going to say sayonara. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we'll be back tomorrow for more Digital Iliad. Bye.